So you're very welcome along to Q&A number 47. This evening's all around practice routines. So you know the drill. Questions have come in ahead of time, and what we're going to cover is we're going to basically take a look at the themes, and then if any questions pop up for you around that, I'll pause, I'll check the chat, and if you're going to ask a question in the chat, could you please, with block capitals, mark it with a big question, so I will identify it and be able to do something about it. Alrighty, so the first question that came in was, what do you practice if you're only getting half an hour of time to practice and you only get to do that 3 times a week? So let's say you're getting 90 minutes of practice time. So the first thing I'd say is, and this theme ran across a few questions, it will be to clearly identify what's quote unquote the new thing that you're working on, the new skill that you're looking to build. And you could be in a season of maintenance as well. You know, if you're looking up ultimate guitar and maybe maintaining and playing what you got is enough for now. You know, there is those baseline seasons where on guitar, like for example, I know, Andrea, you asked this, so I know you've done the finger picking journey. I know a priority will be to make sure that a good piece of that is maintained. Because when it comes to playing, and I'm going to do this here, give me one sec. I don't have my Apple Pencil, folks, so I'm going back old school with this. But like, let's just say you have the maintenance stuff and you have the new stuff. Like, that's the way I tend to think about it. I tend to think that if, and here's how you know, and a question came in about practice routine. When do you stop drilling things? Well, it's when the memory banks on that thing start to expand. So what I mean by that is, Andrea, as an example here, you did the 21-day finger picking journey. If you're getting to sit down for 3 times a week for 30 minutes at a time, I'd include some of that. That's the newest thing you've learned in terms of a skill. And I drill that a bit more. And you're going to be able to identify what to drill by basically sitting down and maybe scanning through the course inside the community and going, what was that one? You know, if you're blanking out on something, that could be a real good, we'll call it a maroon flag, not a red flag, to like go and practice. So that's one thing. And in terms of splitting your time on that, it comes down to progress, but it also comes down to fulfillment and happiness. Like if you're going to be unhappy, let's just say, and this is anyone, if you 3 times a week sit down, but you're unhappy doing it, you're like going, oh man, I'm drilling new stuff. Go and play some fun stuff for yourself. It's okay if you're not practicing brand new stuff all the time, as long as you're enjoying some of it. And then add in a bit of the new stuff, right? So, and if I was to drill it out, I would pick some drills. So I'd pick some things to go and drill, Andrea, in terms of skills, and I'd pick one skill set to focus on. So you could go back on finger picking, another skill set is strumming, another skill set is picking, just picking the strings with the pick. Then you have another skill set of, let's say, chord formation. Maybe you're constructing a barre chord. You know, that's what I'd classify as a skill. And then in terms of playing songs for enjoyment, I'd still do some of that. And this is where you've got to kind of just dip into the body and kind of just feel, do I feel okay with doing this? Do I feel like I'm enjoying myself? And am I making even a bit of progress? Because we all know there's seasons, you know, like even if you come out of the gates practicing a ton, you know a season will come where you'll have a busy week or two. And it's in those seasons you want to kind of just manage to maintain. And that way at least you're here and you can build it from there. All right, so that's what I'd say. And practice routines, when it came to practice routines, when I was learning, there was no such thing as, let's say my teacher came to me one day and he said, here, this is the ultimate practice routine for you to go and do. Like, I went through seasons, I went through different interests, I went through different skill sets, I maintained some, I lost some, you know, this will vary. It's like so variable, but The purpose of this evening is to give you ideas to put into your own practice routines. And as a community, we have our think tank, as we can use it as, and we can come back and have our practice routine thread and continue to ask questions. So by no means this evening would I want any of you to think that you can never ask about practice routines again, or that you can't ask follow-up questions, or there won't be problems or challenges. So just to know that. All right, hope that helps. Okay, and then another question came in. If I only have 5 minutes available on some days, what should I practice? It's presumably different for different people, but any thoughts? Now, if you only have 5 minutes on some days, what should you practice? It will come down to what your goal is, and your practice routine is all around what's your main goal. So, for example, if your goal is to play a song for someone, those 5 minutes need to be invested in just playing the song, practicing the song. If you're trying to learn bar chords and you're in a season of only having 5 minutes a day, well, then I'd invest it all in bar chords, you know. And any skill you're afraid that will slip, that's huge priority. And that's a recurring theme. And the way you'll know if it will slip or not is that if after a day, and here's how you know to leave things be, if you've learned a song or if you learned something, a new pattern, a new picking or strumming pattern, sit down and give it a day or two and then come back to it and just see how much you remember. How much is it still clear? How is your technique on it? Are you getting everything that was taught? If not, that's a sign to put it back into your practice routine and keep drilling it until it starts to go in, as I say, to the same area of your mind and your brain as your open chords, as E minor, G, C, and D. Like when you have something that's put in that area, you know it's going to stay there. All right, that's a good question. Now, those were two questions that came in around time. I'll just have a quick look here just to check, is there any questions? Sifting through the banter. Welcome in Declan, what's up? Welcome in Noel, how are you doing? Thomas says no question, that's okay. I'm scanning through. Okay, hey Emily, welcome along. How are you doing? It's Emily's first Q&A as well as Luke's. Welcome in, great to see you. Okay, glad you're on the min, Declan, that is right. Okay, class. Hey Andy, what's up? Sheriff Andy in the house. Scott's in the house, class, unreal. Okay, Daddy, welcome in everybody. Now, so that's time. And just a quick word on time as well. Just know that like the consistency of it, that 1 minute thing that I said before, that even if you aim for 1 minute a day to pick up the guitar as a micro commitment, as a mini thing to do, you have a minute in the day. If you're only picking up the guitar, not making plans, not doing anything, you can pick it up and hold it. That's a little hack my friend had years ago. He read it in a Gold's book. And then if you hold it for a minute, you might as well do something with it. And then you might do something for more than a minute. It's just trying to walk that fine line between setting big dopamine-fueled goals and going, I'm going to suddenly practice an hour a day. And I know none of you are kind of like, you're busy, so you're probably not saying that. But like to just get a manageable amount and keep it consistent. And split that manageable amount between stuff you already do and can do and that you like to do, and new stuff that's going to build out your skill sets and challenge you. Okay? And there's different seasons of it. So for example, you might be in a season right now where you're like, bar chords, I'm going to start those in January. Okay, we're heading to November, December, but bar chords could be January, you know? And that's the power of the cohort of the community as well, that when you all go at something together, like the song of the month, you know, which we're going to check at the end which song won, you know, there's power in that. So sometimes it's an opportunist thing to jump in. Okay, so question came in then about structure. How to have a more structured practice routine. Okay, so I'm going to share something here real quick. Just give me 1 sec. Okay. Got it. Okay. And I'm going to do this here. Okay. So This here is how I would break down a 4-chord song. And just to show you, you're mentioning about practice structure. And I know, Brian, you asked this, and I know you're on like the beginning stages of getting the basic chords and the strum pattern. And I just want to share this because it's I think it will help. And for anybody out there looking to learn even a 4-chord song, or you could apply this to something else, this is what we got. So, right, so if it's the song Knocking on Heaven's Door, those are our chords. Right, we've G, D, A minor, G, D, C, C. Now, here's the thing. You want to break it down completely. And when we break this song down, we break it down to chord changes. And we break it down to habits. So, for example, the G to D chord change would be the first chord change. And you're looking at your chord hand. And you're building in urgency. Like, I shared the story, I say free Xbox style urgency. In a lesson once, I was teaching a young kid, and as a joke, I just said to them, they weren't changing fast enough. I knew they could, but they just weren't, because they didn't like to be rushed. You know, like nobody really likes too much urgency. And what happened was, I just said to him, I said, hey, listen, what if I told you I'd give you a free Xbox? How fast would you change that chord? And this young guy, he changed it like lightning. It was like he'd done a week's practice. Now, of course, we had the conversation after that. I didn't have an Xbox, but anyways, I thought he knew I was joking. But the moral of that story is, you know, there's always another level of urgency that you can put on yourself. So with this song, Knocking on Heaven's Door, in terms of structuring your practice, especially in the beginning, or any 4-chord song, and this also works with larger songs, G, D, A minor is line 1, G, D, C is line 2. Now, then on this, typical for a lot of players, you'd be looking at the D to C change. And then whatever chord change is causing the problem, drill the change. And then you start playing line 1, then line 2. And the way we've it separated here, you're going to see that you can begin to, give me a sec, you can begin to separate it all out, and it's going to make much more sense. So as an example, in this section, you'd practice line 1 for a while, you'd practice line 2 for a while. And here's the order of how to practice it. You do line 1, then you do line 2. And I often compare it to like an eye test. I had one lately, and do you know that thing they do where they're like, better this one or this one? And then they go back and over, and you're kind of wondering which one is which. Well, with this, I would play line 1, I'd play it a couple of times, and then I'd go and I'd play line 2 a couple of times. But then I'd go back and check on line 1 that it's still okay, still that it's in order. Once you're comfy with each of those lines of a song, then I'd practice line 1 and 2 at the same time. So now I'm checking for endurance and accuracy. It's a whole other realm of practice and a whole other realm of like making sure you're getting things right. Doing the lines individually is around the chords and the chord changes. Doing the lines together is around endurance, making sure that you still maintain focus, playing both lines together, and that everything's accurate. That C chord there could be accurate when you play line 2 on its own, but there may be a problem if you're landing on that C after playing all this in the beginning. Okay? And then, Knocking on Heaven's Door, the line 1 and 2, if you practice that and you learn to do it twice in a row, so you do this twice in a row, that gives you a verse or a chorus of Knocking on Heaven's Door. And then you'd expand it out and you'd learn to play it 4 times in a row. And this would be a verse and a chorus. Right? You see the way it's broken down? Like it's just little bit. And this works with any 4-chord song, especially if they change. So that's a little bit there about the order of practice and prioritizing things. And the beauty of it is this, is that like if you were trying the whole verse of a song or the whole chorus, sometimes you could leave it and finish and go, how did that go? I think it went okay. It wasn't too bad. But with this, if you're like, oh man, I'm messing up chords, I'm missing changes, chords are unclear, you can go back to trying it twice in a row. Get that steady. If that's still a problem, step back here. Try and get them happening just once together. That's a problem. Which line's causing the problem? Maybe it's line 1. Okay, so it's line 1. Which chord is causing it? Oh, it's the D to A minor change. See that you can always microscope it down. Alrighty, so that's a little bit there around just structure, and there's enough variation within that to hopefully, I know I've done it a ton, I still do it, to hopefully avoid the whole that you play a bit of it and you're like, oh, I think it's improving. Then you look for a new song and you start a new song. And then you open out the book and you've like 20 songs and you're like, oh, I'd love to be able to play 4 of them, just 4 of them, right? So that can really help. Now, the word enjoyment came up in that question also. How do you keep enjoyment? This is personality driven a lot of the time. Like for example, some of you out there might be like, feck it, I want to drill the stuff I know I'm meant to do. I need to just drill my chord changes and then I'm going to let myself play that song I love. But then some more of you could be like, actually, I'm not going to walk over to the guitar if I'm learning a bar chord, or that I'm drilling that change that makes me feel like I'm not fast enough on guitar. So I'm actually going to start by just sitting down playing a song that I'm familiar with and I kind of enjoy and is fun. And then after a few minutes, I'll get into the hard stuff. You know, it's personality driven, and it can vary. I used to do a bit of both. Now, the next question came in and it was around ideas for structure around practice blocks. 15 minutes, either do 30 minutes or do 45-minute blocks. My personal recommendation would be to do 15-minute blocks, especially if you're looking to build a skill. You've got to go all in on the skill. My concern around a 45-minute block is that it's so long. The name of the game for progress on guitar is practice, and the name of the game with practice is repetition. And with repetition, that means doing drills, like playing stuff over and over and over again to get it into the fingers and to wire it into the brain. And to do that, 15-minute blocks are brilliant, because if you only have time to do one in your day, you get it done. Rather than, it's kind of like, I can't speak too much about this right now, but like kind of like working out. Like, I know if I had a 45-minute video to work out to, and I stopped the video halfway through and was like, feck it, I've other stuff to do, I wouldn't feel like I'd worked out. But there was a program I did once, it was like 20-minute workouts. And yeah, it's not 30 minutes, it's not like an hour or something, but it was 20 and I got it done. And it was clear what to do, you know? So that sense of accomplishment, the 15-minute blocks work well. Now, what do you put into these 15-minute blocks? This will vary from player to player. And the great thing about our community is you can ask, right? The key thing first, I'd say, is keep playing. Like, if there is any chance at all at you kind of backing away from guitar because you feel like you're going to practice, you feel like you're going to just practice and you just want to do a bit of playing as well, go and do some playing, play stuff that's fun. With the actual thing of putting practice into 15 minutes, I would focus on any new chord shapes, any new chords I'm learning, because a chord is I've written on a board here, I've like shapes at the bottom here on my board, then I have switches, chord switches, and then I have strumming, right? So if you're doing a song, if there's one chord shape in that song that is a problem for you, that's going to ground everything to a halt. So that means it's the highest priority. So I'd put learning the chord shape into the practice routine. And how I'd do that is I would get the chord and I'd also look at what chord came ahead of it. So I'll just do this here. Let's just say as an example, if D minor was a problem, and what I'd do is, that would be my drill. I'd just do G going to D minor. I do one down on G, one down on D minor. Now this sounds familiar, I get it. But if you do that for 1 to 2 minutes, just that one strum, drilling the thing. And a question had come in around metrics and how to measure improvement, but I'll tip in on a bit of it here. Actually, no, I'll pause on that. I'll go down a rabbit hole, sorry. So that's the chord shape, then the chord switches, right? So you're practicing the switch, that's the thing. And similar to what I put on the screen a few minutes ago, Your line 1 and your line 2, you're just looking at the lines of the song and you're basically breaking them apart and turning them into mini milestones along the way. And then you've strumming, and that's where you could be working on your pattern. So let's just say if we're doing this, this really is old school. See, I am ordering an Apple Pencil though. It should be coming this week. Okay, one chord. Okay, I'll do this here. Now, and by the way, like the really cool thing about how to practice as well, I was actually never taught how to practice, like in a sense, like I was just given stuff to do and I kind of figured out practicing myself. But the whole process of you going through stuff in the courses, like whether you're going through the open chords course, whether you're doing the finger picking 21-day journey or the song of the month, the very ways I'm suggesting you drill things and practice things, if there's one thing I'd love you to remember from this Q&A, it's to step back anytime you hear any tip on guitar and how to practice something, zoom out and remove the something from the practice and give it a label as to what it is. What I mean by that is, if you hear me say in a song lesson, it's a really good idea to drill the G to the D chord, that you zoom out and go, okay, that's Dave saying, if there's a chord change in the song that's holding everything up, I need to practice it. And I'd kind of make a note of that, you know. I had this in the finger picking journey, but I'll share it here. So we shared about drilling chords, chord changes, chord progressions. Now, when it comes to patterns, and by patterns I mean strumming, I mean finger picking or picking. Here I'd say you get it working, a pattern, get it working on one chord, then get it working on one chord change, then get it working on one chord progression. Sorry, trying to do too much. One chord progression. Right, so I'll grab the guitar here a sec. So let's just say I was working on this pattern. Okay, and I might take a snippet of Song of the Month and show how I'd break it down for practice. But if I was doing this picking pattern, there is 0 point in me learning yet to go to the next chord because I wouldn't have this bit done yet. So I'd stay on that one chord with the pattern and I'd start to get better at my pattern on the one chord. And I'd start, I'm speeding up here, but I'd start to like try and get good at that. And the cool thing is, now you'll start to see results. You'll start to go, oh, it's getting faster, it's getting easier, it's starting to sound more like the song. You're on only one chord so far. And then you take that confidence and momentum and then you start the next chord. And then you could be going. You do that a few times because now you've been practicing your overall technique on your picking and now you've carried it into the second chord and then you do both of them. Anyone spot the song? Was at it today. And now, similar to the way we talked about line 1 and line 2 with the thing, I'm going back and over between both of those chords. So I'm checking. Combining them both up. And then I'd end in the next chord and the next chord and just start expanding out the chord progression. And that's one way with the patterns. And it'd be the same with the strumming pattern, it'd be the same with the finger picking pattern. 1 second. And that way then, because the pattern that you're trying to learn is conditioned through repetition, you're repeating it through one chord without adding in chord changes or any other fancy stuff. So that's how I do it in order to accelerate and to move through stuff. All right, so that's a few things around practice blocks. And in terms of how many minutes to spend on each, this is where everyone's different. Like as an example, I used to just spend, like, I'd put a match on, like a soccer match, I'd watch Formula 1, and I would just drill stuff over and over and over and over. I could be 30 minutes playing the exact same thing. And if you have an appetite for that, if you can like swallow that and just like doing the same thing over and over, yeah, you'll bust through a ton of stuff. But I used to like in that 15-minute block, or if it was 60 minutes during a match, or 45 minutes because it was one half and then another half, I didn't sit down and go, I'm going to do this for 10 minutes. Now I'm going to do this for 5 minutes. Now I'm going to do this for whatever. I used to just intuitively go and do something. And like we said a few minutes ago, whether it was to start with playing something you like, then be like, okay, I'm warmed up. Now I'm going to start drilling. Then start drilling for a few minutes. And then I might go, okay, I'm getting a bit bored. I'll go and do something different now. So this whole like journey would be up and down a different interests and stuff. But the overall theme was, I knew the overall piece I was working on that week for my guitar teacher, because that was going to be the lesson. So that's what I was doing. And then I'd like have my, kind of call it surfing the web time, where I'd kind of, then I'd have that practice and I go, Jod, we'll look up a few more things. Okay, so that'll be a few things. Now, there's one more question come in for structure, and then I'll check the chat before we move on to metrics, and see if there's any questions. All right, Luke answered, and fair play, Luke. I love the way you use the framework. I didn't really push the framework too much inside the community, but it really helps in terms of this. So, folks, I'll share it again inside if any want to use it. It can help with some clarification. So it's where it's like, my current situation is this, my desired situation is this, my problem is this, my question is this. That's the framework. So question come in. Current situation is idle. Desired situation is motivation and organization. Problem is no specific plan. So the question is, I'm interested in learning songs, music theory, in learning fingerstyle, and eventually singing and playing. How do I make this into a workable practice routine? I've been taking and working on little pieces of everything without truly making any progress. Perfect. Okay, you're definitely not alone, right? It's guitar is as much a focus game as it is a practice game. Right, so I see a few different things in here. Music theory, I would suggest just learn the theory of what you're doing as you go. The danger of music theory is you could learn a ton of terms and a ton of stuff, and unless you're going to use it and say it, it'll go out of your mind fairly quickly. That's the first thing. So like, for example, here's an example with whatever you're learning. Yeah, there'll be bits of theory involved as to what it's called, how you can use it, and other places you can use it. Now, so eventually sing and play and learning fingerstyle. What I'd suggest is, I wouldn't have it in my mind yet, just, I know you don't, but just to say it, just in case, it'd be tempting if you're doing fingerstyle to go, I'll actually do some singing with the fingerstyle. I would hold off on fingerstyle and singing, and I'd focus on strumming and singing. That would be the first thing. Now, since I know you're looking to get a few songs under your belt, what I suggest is picking songs with 4 chords and learning 3 to 4 of them. And that would be your main focus. Like, let's say the 3 or 4 chords. And then, because it would get boring, because if you're flipping through songs, break them up into the different sections. So like we did, exactly like I did earlier with the Knocking on Heaven's Door. We've Knocking on Heaven's Door, the song. What chords are contained within it? Break it down into what lines of chords there are, so you can look and go, there's only 2 different lines here to learn. Then look at the chord changes, look at what chords make up the chord changes, then start drilling them and building it back up to that. That's what I'd suggest. And there's some of the crew, there's some like great song suggestions in the community as well. And you all know you're only a question away from getting answers from loads of brilliant players, like, and great help. That's what I'd say in terms of learning songs. So pause the music theory for now, learn bits of it as you go, but no need to go dipping too much into it. In terms of songs, have a think. And by the way, if you post a few artists you're into the community, I'll be able to kind of go, these chords work well with that artist. Then the singing and playing will eventually come. Promise you that. It takes time, but let's get the playing together first. So I do the fingerstyle on the side as a nice side project. It's lovely to be learning, and then get the songs on the go. All right. And that's, I hope I've answered how do you make that into a workable practice routine. The action items of the 21-day finger picking course will have action items, so you'll know what to do. And And you can take that day by day. You don't need to rush through it. And then in terms of the others, how do you make it into a practice routine? If you go into the hub, every one of the open chords lessons has your action items there. So give me 1 second here. I'll just check. Because with the practice routines, they do take time to make. I have to admit, that was the hardest bit when I made these courses, to actually sit down and go, what will I make the practice routine? But it worked. Okay, so I'll get this here. Let's just say G to D chord transition. I'm just going to get this here. Got it. Okay. I think I got it.
Working out.
Okay, cool. So I'm going to pull this up here in a sec. Okay, cool. So I share the screen. Now, this is the lesson. So crew, if you're inside the hub, the open chord levels in particular have action items on them. So for example, all you got to do is, whether you're on mobile or whatever, I know who asked it, Luke asked this, so going through this would help. You hit attachments and you see media, and there we are. The key takeaways are there. What to practice in terms of chord progressions. All right. Now, and that is the bit around, let's just check. That's the question around structure, right? So metrics is coming up next, and then we have a few more questions. Okay, I'm just going to check the chat real quick. Okay. Okay. Yeah, Dan, nice share. Yeah. It can, yeah, definitely. It's okay to noodle as well. That's the thing, you know. As long as you're picking up the guitar, because that kind of fits in with the maintenance. You know, that's the other thing. Okay, follow-up question came in. So, Brendan asked, when learning a new song, how often do you keep playing it once you have learned it? I find that a few days later, I forget completely how to play it, so I need to learn it again. Noel answered, but I'll add in a guitar answer. Yeah, that's a good question. That came up as well here, so I'll answer it now. Okay, so when it comes to your songs, you got to remember there'll be a few different categories of songs. Like at the retreat, you know the way with some songs that like some of you would start up yourselves, then other songs you might be like, oh, I'll get the phone for that one, or I'll get the folder. You know, like two different categories, but at the end goal is you're playing the song. So what I'd say, Brendan, is to check in. Is it that you're forgetting how it goes? Completely how to play it, so you need to learn again. Got it. So like, is it that you go to play and you go, oh man, I forget it, and then you have to go back and take out the page and go through it? Or is there any skills within the song that stop you from playing the song? So, like as an example, if I said to you, oh, you forgot it, that's right, here it is, and I showed it to you and you just could play it again straight away, that's more of like the how to memorize it or how it goes versus this skill is dipped. I now need to go back and practice it and drill it again. So I'll answer this one because the answer to the memorization one is just to have it on hand. With this one, what I'd say is it's like that day thing. Like you said there, it's a couple of days. So now let's just say it's 4 days. 4 days later you go and you've forgotten it, right? So that's a marker on that song to say, if I don't play this for 4 days, I forget how to play it, or I can't play some bits of it again. Well, then I'd go playing it every day for a while, and I'd start to compare it to a song I know really well. So like, for example, we didn't start the fire this evening with the student, and you know, if the student saw me play that versus another Billy Joel song, this one's more rusty, you know, but two other Billy Joel songs could be side by side and you wouldn't know which one was learned first. So for you, Brendan, with this, look at it and play it enough that you're like, yeah, if somebody saw me play it, they wouldn't know it's one of my latest songs. They might think it's as good as a song like Hotel California that I've been playing for quite a while. That's one thing. And then what you do is to test yourself. You basically start leaving small gaps and checking how much of the gap can you leave and still remember how to play it. So like for example, if it's 4 days, well then I'd probably leave 2 days and just check does it relatively stay stable, and then start checking, you know. And if it's one you really want to memorize, like I would just drill it every day for like 20 days and then start leaving a day or two and just to see. All right, hope that helps. Nola's input too. Okay, nice. Love it, Declan. I wonder, can I make these larger? No, I can't. I can make the icon larger. That isn't good enough. Okay, one sec. There we go. Okay. So after we thought about practice goals. Yeah, and that's the thing. Outcome-based goals and building the practice with purpose to them. Yeah, 100%. And being realistic first, just to like get the momentum underway and build it from there. 100%. Okay. Yes, we got this song. Good. Soccer. Yes. Okay. Is it not straight? I actually tried to straighten it before. I'm kind of, it could be the camera too, maybe. Anyways, okay. More about memorizing, not the skill. Okay, got it. Sorry, just saw that. Okay, so in terms of memorizing it, I would just drill it, and then I'd leave it down, and I'd come back later on that day, and then I'd start checking is it still intact, and then I'd go the following day again, and I'd actually start nipping in. I remembered this, like I used to practice in the morning. Oh, that is so crooked, yeah. I used to start practicing in the morning, so I had a higher chance of remembering it before I'd come home from school. So you know, it's like it's just those little things. So even if you had like 2 minutes in the morning to play it, I know school is different to work. Thanks, Luke. Luke's coming back here. He's like, it's straight. Okay. What was I going to say? I think I'm playing the. Hey, I'll hop in on this real quick. Hey, Luke, welcome along. How are you doing? Are you in the free group, Luke? Are you on YouTube? Just let us know. Post a comment. Okay, I learned the fill bits. Don't let me down, but I can't sing while playing the individual fiddly parts. Yeah. So this, Luke, what you want to do here is you want to drill it so much. Like you can already play it. Let's say you can already play it, but to play it and sing it requires you to play it to like a level that you can play it and think about other stuff. You can play it and talk to somebody or say a one-word answer. Like we're so conditioned on guitar to learn guitar and learn until we were able to play the thing. But to sing and play the thing, you've got to play the thing and play it so much that you're going to be able to play it at any stage. And that's where you just got to play well past the area of just being able to play it. Hope that makes sense. And then you start adding stuff in on top. Now, I'm going to take a drink of water a sec. Can't stop watching that picture now. Well, if it's not straight in the next week, I'll just take it off the wall. How does that sound? Okay, question on metrics. How do you measure improvement? So, how do you measure improvement? Well, one thing that I just want to like, if you're not doing this and you have been doing it and you've stopped, or you haven't done it and you see others doing it, video yourself playing. I cannot emphasize that enough. It is the one thing, that you can't go back and undo. Like, let's just say you play to a certain level and you look back and you go, God, I've no videos of the journey. You can't play less well than you do now and pretend and just video that stuff. Like, it doesn't work that way. The progress is huge, like, on video. And you know yourselves, like, we shared a video with John inside the community with his permission of, like, his 2 rhythm things. And I promise you, like, John could agree that, like, his rhythm playing improved. And it has. But it's when you see the 2 videos side by side, and when you see one and then the other, that you go, oh yeah, you get it, like, you know. And to get that for yourselves is huge. So that's one thing for measuring improvement and noticing it. Okay, and then just the second question that came in there before I go more in depth on measuring improvement is how to recognize bad habits. Video you're playing, share some in the community in the ask for feedback section. We have that section in the community. Remember, we have the share your playing section where you share playing and it's just a space for you to share and go, hey, this is what's going on. And nobody needs to come in going, hey, watch this, watch that. You know, but where you can ask for permission from others to get feedback is the share, ask for feedback section, right? So that's huge. And that's where the bad habits can be uncovered. Now, how to measure improvement. So, we'll start with a few topics. One, chords. How can you measure improvement on your chords? It involves how quick you can how fast you can start to play them. That's one thing. You can count your chord change improvement like this. If you're doing one down on G, one down on D minor, used in Hungry Heart, I think. Like if you can do 10 of those in a minute, like basically start counting them and see can you do 15 the following week. You know, that's one thing for improvement. And then the other thing for improvement is to do with strum patterns, and it's to do with, see, improvement it's a big term, like big umbrella term, but like to narrow down into it, with strum patterns, you'd measure improvement with strum patterns with respect to how fast are you playing the strum pattern, and then also the touch and the feel of what you're doing. Like we're saying about the song of the month, that like, yeah, you could do this, like I could do this, I could go. All right, just play that old song. Now, watch this hand a second. Let's just say I got the notes. Now watch it again. Did you feel the difference between both? Like one had a bit more flow, it felt a bit more musical, and that's a sign of improvement too. So you can be playing the same thing, but it could sound more musical now. That's improvement. And it's airy-fairy, wishy-washy, it's kind of like vague, but at the same time, you know, improvement can be metrics driven, it can be driven by chord changes, how many new chords you've learned, strum patterns you've learned, how fast you can play, is your tempo increasing, it can be done with consistency, like can you play now 4 songs in a row in front of somebody instead of 1? How are you at learning a brand new genre? Improvement can also be measured as in, I've played a lot of folk, I've played a lot of pop, now I've learned a reggae song, now I've learned a jazz song. That's improvement, you know, and you can measure it by numbers. The way to improve is measuring numbers. And by stepping out of the comfort zone and like recognizing improvement is important too. And that's where sharing videos helps, you know, like, you know yourselves. There's been times in our community that you might go, oh man, I'm hitting walls, I don't feel like I'm improving. Then you share a video and people go, oh my God, you are improving. Then when you hear it from enough people, it's like, okay, I am, you know? Then, how to recognize bad habits. Okay, so we have the video thing, ask for feedback, that is huge. How to recognize bad habits. Now, a key thing about bad habits, and this is where different, like I've seen mega YouTube channels with guitar players that with huge followings, and quote unquote their technique looks like they have a few bad habits. Like it sometimes won't stop you. That's the thing at all, you know, being able to play a ton of stuff. But you do hit a wall with some bad habits. Like for example, one is holding the pick with your thumb and middle finger. That will come back and bite you when it comes to doing stuff with like hybrid picking. Right, because these need to be free. And then another way to recognize bad habits is to check, are you hitting walls with the speed of what you're trying to do? If you're trying something harder and harder and harder and you're not getting it up to the speed of the song, that could point to a bad habit. It could point to inefficient picking, it could point to inefficient strumming, arrows are maybe upside down, or maybe you're moving farther away with your wide strum, or maybe the way you change chords needs to be improved. You know what I mean? Like the speed, that's when I was learning stuff, it's if I couldn't get something fast enough that I'd suddenly go, what's going on here? And I go back to my teacher going, listen man, I've been drilling this and I'm hitting walls. And he'd go, oh yeah, change this, change this. That's one. And then the second way you know about bad habits is the sound and the feel of what you're playing. So let's just imagine you are getting it up to speed. Watch this here. I'll do this here. So I'm strumming like this. Oh no, that sounds too close. I'll do this. Now instead of this, do you see the way that had a bit more flow? The other one, that stop start rush thing in the rhythm, that's a classic one. If you're looking for a few bad habits named out, I'll say it's not doing the correct picking arrows on riffs, not doing the correct picking, using different fingers than the suggested ones for finger picking patterns, using upside down arrows at points in strumming, or banging too hard or strumming too wide. Another bad habit is always looking at your pick hand instead of looking at your fretboard hand, because that's going to be busier and looking back and over. Another bad habit is using one finger to play a ton of stuff on the fretboard. So if I was playing this, like if I was going like, I'm exaggerating, but you get the point. But there's like quote unquote proper finger picking stuff and finger patterns. And just to let you know, for every bad habit, somebody's taken their bad habit and written hit songs with said bad habit. And sometimes you got to play with bad habits to sound like the song. The Libertines being a prime example, classic band, and the playing on the stuff is ropey to say the least, and to sound like it, you got to play ropey. So, you know, there's a time and place for so many things on guitar. Now, that's metrics and habits. Okay, I'm going to blaze through some other questions came here. When is the right time to learn finger picking guitar? Okay, so this was asked by somebody towards the starting stages of guitar. I would focus on getting my open chords together, the 10 main open chords, get a couple of songs under your belt. And if you're looking for something new and shiny to do, yeah, I'd learn a finger picking pattern or two on the side as a side quest. But I would make sure, if I'd limited time, to be doing my practice on the stuff that needs it first, namely open chords and chord changes. Because for you to do finger picking, it's going to be done on chords and chord changes. So that's why they're still priority. So that's, and you can dip into it as long as you're maintaining what you've learned in the whole basic realm. And you know, the crew of you who are inside the School of Guitar, we have our curriculum there of open chords level 1 to 4. If you've that intact and you keep it intact, go off and adventure with other stuff then. Now, next question came in. On autopilot, is it okay to practice when you're on autopilot, written in quotes? How much focus and attention do you give while playing? If you're on autopilot, do you stop for a bit, or do you still keep practicing in anyways? I'll say that totally, it's okay to practice on autopilot. Me playing football, hear that, Declan? Football, not soccer. I used to play so much on autopilot, like so much, crazy amount, and it didn't do my playing any harm. I still had to spend time in my room looking at the sheet and learning tab and like looking at screens and learning stuff, but it definitely did no harm. If you get into a flow state as well, like autopilot, another word for flow, you know. Question again around muscle memory. So, when do you cycle out old exercises from your practice routine or decide it's time to move on? Okay, I'll get to that in a second. No, I'll do that first actually. So when do you cycle out old exercises from your practice routine and decide it's time to move on? This depends on what you want to do with them. So if you're looking for mastery and consistency, like there was some practice items I didn't remove from my practice routine for 3 years. Some items. I was 3 years practicing some things. And that was like insane fast stuff, you know. And then other stuff, I might get bored of it as well. And it's okay if you're practicing something, you go, look, I've practiced it, I've improved my skill of alternate picking with this scale. Even if I don't keep the scale, I still keep the skill. You know, there's a difference there too, because you'll still keep the skills you'll have drilled. It's just memorizing the fretboard notes could be the bit that goes out first. And then the other thing was, do you keep adding in new routines and have a very long practice routine? No, you don't. It'll get too long, it'll be unmanageable, and nothing will get done then. So what I do, whatever length that's working for you right now, is stick with that. And whatever you're looking at going, well, do I have as much of a use for you? Like, take it out. You know, that's what I used to do. Like, if I was doing funk for a while, I'd do funk, and then I'd like remove it if I was like, well, I'm not going to be playing any funk for a while, so I'll just go with this one. You know, that's that. And then question, I hear a lot about muscle memory, but I don't believe there are muscles in the fingers. Yes, that is correct. It is called muscle memory. It is called that. But no, it's actually like just, where do we have these? No, it's like, it's the repetitive movements. I had notes done out here because like, this is wordy. And I don't want to fluff it. So it's like, no, it's like the pathways in the brain that you're building, right? So you're building pathways in the brain and neural pathways. And it's basically, you're just drilling the repetition of the movement. So no, there isn't muscle memory in the fingers, but it does, the longer you practice, the crazier it is that like stuff just stays in there and the fingers remember the patterns. So no, there are, I can verify there are no muscles in the fingers. Okay, next question. Okay, how do you structure practice for songs with 2 guitar parts? Do you use a looper pedal? I would use a looper pedal if I had one. Yeah, that would work. I used to practice both guitar parts, definitely. And what I do is I'd prioritize. You know, like if you're learning Sultans of Swing on guitar, everyone wants to learn the cool solo bit. No one's going to pull you if you don't know the fill of verse 3. You know, so what I used to do is I used to practice the main part I wanted to keep and get better and better at that. Whether that's chords or whether it's a little riff or whether it's a solo or whatever it was. And whichever one I wanted to be playing. And the way I decided is I'd look and I'd go, okay, if I was playing this live, which part do I wish I get to play? But I learn both. So that'd be it. And it is worth a lot of times, once you get into the flow of it, learning both parts of guitar parts. Because let's just say, like Guns N' Roses, as an example, like, yeah, Slash is his cool parts, but what makes them cool is Izzy Stradlin's parts that back him up. And if you're playing guitar, like if you can show that to somebody else to hold that down while you play the part that you really want to do, you know. And then what I used to do is I used to put on the CD back in the day, and I would basically play one part with the CD, one guitar part, then I'd play the other part. And depending on the song, sometimes I'd rotate the parts. So I might play like the rhythm guitar for one verse, then the next verse I might do the fills, or I might be flipping in and out of them as I'd like to go. And the advantage of, like, let's just say you learn 2 guitar parts, the advantage of learning to flip between them is just really, really expands your musicianship. Like, let's say you learn how to do that, that you're playing a song like Sweet Child of Mine, if I was doing this, or if I was doing Night Train. That's both parts. Like that's both parts, but you break them apart and then. You know, you can start to mess around with doing the main rhythm and then the fills. And the advantage of that is you just never know when you're out playing with others. I've played with others where the both guitar parts, one guy might be missing parts, and then that way, if I've learned both parts, you can kind of start playing them as well and not stepping on anyone's toes. Or if they break a string, or if they don't know it, you know, you can cover both and just tell them to play the basic chords. So hope that helps. Any tips for dealing with, another question came in, any tips on dealing with thumb cramps when playing songs that are mainly bar chords? Yeah, totally. Okay, so the setup with it is, no matter how long you've been playing guitar and how much guitar you've played, bar chords are bar chords, and your hands are going to get tired playing them. So what you can do with that is start to use this shape here. I have a few tips for this actually. This could be a good standout video on its own. So let's just say I have this bar chord here. I'll do the song I learned on. Do that. When I was young, it seemed that life was so wonderful. A miracle, yes, it was beautiful. Right, Supertramp, logical song. Now, it's full of bar chords. If I wanted to ease off on thumb cramps while playing a song with tons of bar chords, first of all, for each bar chord, I'd learn a version of it that didn't involve a bar. This sounds obvious, but like that would be the C minor, right? And then instead of this A flat, I'd learn different versions. And then for G minor, 7, you could do power chords. And that's another way to rest as well, if the song allows you to play power chords instead of bar chords. You know, there's so many songs you can do that with, especially rock songs, especially Green Day songs as well. So you have a few options there. Learn easier versions of the chord. And that's counterintuitive to our whole thing of going, the song requires bar chords, so I better play them. It's okay to mix up easier open chord versions with the bar chords. And even by listening over time, you'll start to go, oh man, I can't get away if I start the song. When I was young, it seemed that, like, when I was young, it seemed that life was so wonderful. Right, so this would be the shape I'd use for the, and I can draw these out in the community, guys. This is the shape I'd use instead of the E shape. I just put the thumb over the top, or not. Okay, this is the shape I'd use for the minor. And with all these, it'd just be giving the thumb a break, right? And the power chords. That would be it. Like, I'd much more lean on the side of varying your chords than just trying to brute force through and play a ton of bar chords. And even if you're like, I know, Stuart, you asked this, and I know you have a ton of songs on the go. So like, let's just say if you're playing a gig or you're doing a live stream online on TikTok, I would look at the set ahead of time and I'd decide in advance which songs, and by the way, some songs as well, if you really didn't want to play them with bar chords, use a capo and open chords. It's okay to do that still. But what I do, Stuart, is I'd look through and I'd go, right, that song, I'm bringing my A game with the bar chords to that song. This one I'll use a variation. This one I might change to open chords, and that's okay. You know, so a few pointers there with the bar chords. Alrighty, folks, and that is all the question. All the questions there. Now let's take a look at the chat. Is there any more questions? I said I might go over a few minutes tonight, so we'll check it out. Okay. Oh, cool, Luke. That's nice. So he's you're after stumbling into a live stream of community members, man. Yeah, Luke. Let me see. Give me 1 second now. Okay, I'm going to drop this here. Just real quick while I think of it. Okay. Luke Davern, I'm dropping this link. It's the free guitar community. It's pretty quiet compared to the paid one that we're all in, right? But if you want to hop into the free and we can chat some more if you want to find out anything else, all right? It's just a nice place for a point of contact. Now, so Luke, you haven't made a video. We'll be talking about that. We will definitely be talking about that because that'll be a nice step. Okay, Andy's a question. Okay, can't get the hang of the strumming with the pick. I find using the index to sound much quieter. Yeah, that's common. Definitely common, Andy. Definitely. And it's okay to do that. And definitely for singing at home, it's good to use your index. The drawback of only going down that route will be when you're around other players in your louder environment like a pub or a bar, your index won't cut it. So you need to use a pick. And that's where I've seen it happen, players where they'll come and they'll be there strumming with their index and it won't be loud enough. And then they'll kind of look a bit lost. And then somebody will go, here's a pick. And in that moment, you have two choices. You either have to turn to the person and go, I can't use, I don't want to use it, or you hold it. And now this very thing that feels weird, now you're in the middle of the pub trying to play in around people with this thing. So I'd say keep going with it. Look, it mightn't feel comfy, and it might never feel too comfy, but the pick being loud as well could be a thing of with the strum when you're strumming. Check this out. So if I go here, do you hear the volume difference? The key thing of difference there, volume, was I had my fist clenched the first time, then I loosened my fingers. That's huge in terms of playing quieter with the pick, you know. So if I was to guess, I would say there might be a very small bit of that going on maybe, and then hold it super light. Okay. Cheers, Dan. Appreciate you sharing the link with Luke. Lovely. Thanks. Okay. Ducks and loons. Class, man. You should record a live album for them, Luke. That'd be class. Okay. Hey Clive, what's up? Welcome in. I'm going to answer this. And Steve said, good question. Let's check it out. Okay, so any solos that are hard enough to keep me motivated but simple enough to easily connect them with scale shapes. Cheers. Yeah, do you know what, Clive? I would say, like, do you want to drop if you're still here, do you want to drop real quick and name a few bands you're into, and I might be able to link some in here. Yeah, I would say slower solos and not worrying about the technical bits involved with them. So like, for example, if I did this one, actually, I'll do this one. Watch. So if I went, like Sweet Child of Mine, one of the smaller solos out of that. Clive, I'd be picking smaller, shorter solos to start like that. Another one is like, and I'd even pick solos I wouldn't be as keen on, just to get some mini solos under the belt. Like another one is Californication. You know, there's little ones like that. And then if I want to challenge myself, then I take little bits like that. And the big thing to remember with whatever mini solos you go at is to remember that the style of the solo will have this like, it'll have this like flow and vibrato and feel to it, and that mightn't be there in the beginning. So just to power through playing them. Another one would be November Rain. That'd be one. Just trying to think. Even Prison Walkways, like if you remove the bends in solos will be the number one stumbling block at the beginning. So like if you went, you know, it's a little bit slow. You can work on finger placement, picking, and tone, and it's well done. Let's take the climbers one back. Okay, we're good. Yeah. So do you see what I mean? And then any other ones? Others like there'd be a few. Zephyr song by Chili Peppers. Okay, Eric Clapton. And the thing with the bend is crew, any bend you see in a song, it'll be a bend up 2 frets or 3 frets. All you got to do is, if you don't want to do the bend, just play the note that exists 2 frets up from that bend. So that one, Wonderful Tonight, you'd see a 10 with a B2 or a 10 bended up 2 frets. Well, that's just the 12th fret. Like that, you know. Trying to think more. No. I'm gonna think about that, Clive. But there's a few to start with, anyways, right? Yeah, just a few. All right. If you picked even one of those, that'd be good. All right. And hey, Clive, are you in the free group? The link is on this chat. If you want to hop in, it's probably the easiest way to get me via DM before the stream ends, and we're lost in the wilderness of the internet. All right. Let's see. Can we use ropey but brilliant? What? Which one was that, Declan? A few ropey bits. Now we can use Ultimate Guitar Mute. Yeah, that's the other thing. Like with Ultimate Guitar, yeah, like the plus. I was saying this lately. Like, it's $20 for the year to get Ultimate Guitar Pro. Like it's a steal. To mute one part. Okay. Hey Thomas, you're so welcome. See you, Thomas. Good night. See you, Andrea. Good night. Have a good one. Let's see. Hey Deli. See Andy. Take care. Okay. Oh, class, Laurie. Thanks so much. Cheers. Laurie, you're in the free community, I think. Delhi, lovely. Thanks for making it in, and yeah, let me know if you have any questions, of course. Cheers, John. Thanks. It's a good one. Excellent, Luke. Good to hear. Yeah, the AC/DC solos, Clive. I just saw that there. The AC/DC solos. Yeah, like, to be honest, I don't know. They'd be in my I haven't the memorized thing, you know. They were very intense. I remember that, and a lot of bends and stuff. But the Thin Lizzy stuff, the Libertines, yes. Sorry, Declan, yeah, ropey but brilliant. Oh, 100%. Alrighty, so before we wrap it up, one last request. We gotta see what song of the month is. If you could share what's been your biggest takeaway of the live stream, of the live Q&A on practice routines, just whatever it is. Could be we had our structure, we had our time, how to structure our time with our metrics, we had stuff for our muscle memory, autopilot. What was your biggest takeaway? I'll leave it open for a minute or two while I'm pulling this up. 24 votes. All right. Okay. Biggest takeaway. Let's see him. And I got the song of the month. The crooked picture, yes. Dave needs to straighten his crooked picture. That has been a recurring theme. Alrighty. I don't know how I'm going to straighten it though, because I honestly, hand on heart, I think at times it's straight. Hope it's something. Yes, it is. I'm going to flip it here. Here we go. So, song of the month. This was close. It was fairly close. Like, look at this. Everything got something. But out, clearly ahead, Wish You Were Here, guitar intro, and the rest of the song. So, here's the lesson. That'll be going up. It'll be this. Gotta finish this. Nice. Alrighty. Okay, so let me just check here. It's a crooked picture. This picture's come down, lads. It's come down. Okay, so a few takeaways here. Okay, Laurie said, for me, the idea of doing 50 minutes a day and just sticking to one thing for a bit longer to really hammer it home. I usually jump around a lot. I haven't. Yeah, listen, that is so common for sure. Lovely. Thanks, Laurie. What else? Dan wrote, the 1 minute a day, great way again, you to practice daily, learning new stuff into small. 100%. I've actually been doing that myself with other things. Like, just once I do the first one, it kind of rolls into the rest. Hey, you're very welcome, Clive, and hopefully you hop into the free group. It'd be good to chat some more. I had to jump ship from Time Your Life to Assure here. Nice. Alrighty, so we're nearly there. Now, what else coming up this week? So we have our new members kickoff call tomorrow night. So Luke and Emily, I think, I know Luke, you're coming to that for sure. And I know Chris is coming. So we'll have a chance to chat some more. And anybody who's watching, if you want to hop in, I've enabled there's a 7-day free trial of our community. If you do want to hop in with the crew, so like, for example, Clive and Laurie, if you want to come in and check it out, there's a hive of activity in here. And I put out a few free passes. It's not on all the time, because I don't want people coming in just like hopping in, passing through doors and stuff, but you sound like you're interested guitar players in a sense. So I'll drop that there if you want to check it out a bit more. It's a free day, it's a 7-day free trial. And we've two more Zoom calls this week. So the next 2 calls this week are on Zoom then. We have a chance to catch up and practice and everything else. So let me check. Is there any other announcements? I just want to check here real quick. No, we've Song of the Month, practice routines. And then, just to let you know, for those of you who are in here, I'm going to go to the calendar real quick. We have our open mic at the end of the month. Just to let you know, that's open mic 3. Next week is themed. We're in for a Funk Ember, right? And Song of the Month will be going up this week. And then next month, on the first Monday, our toy show is happening, right? It's a little bit of art I drew lately. That is going to be all around. Listen, this time of year, it's going to be Black Friday Central, and it's going to be like Christmas hedged. But basically, we'll be looking at so some members are going to be doing some guest slots around pedals, around apps, around guitars. So if you're looking for Christmas ideas, stocking fillers and stuff like that, that's going to be a themed one. Okay, so I think that's about it. So crew, we got our Song of the Month on the go and everything else. So nice. All right, Luke, deadly. I'll see you tomorrow, Luke. So no, you're so welcome. And Brendan, you did your practice tonight, class. Oh, the doodle. Forgot about that. All right, I'll leave that there. Better we're 15 minutes over, but all good. Okay, crew, thanks for making it, and we'll see. I'll get free guitars from Dave. Yeah, we'll see how that works out. Free air guitars. We'll see you soon. I'll leave it there. Okay, see you soon, folks. Thanks for making it. The replay will be up, and the free trial is there if anyone want to hop in for a bit of fun. All right, catch you later. See you in the group. Thanks for making it.